Day 2 of the Dale Warner murder trial. I'm Melissa Andrews, a crime and investigative reporter. I'm following the murder trial of Dale Warner. He's accused of killing his wife, Dee, in 2021 and then welding her inside a fertilizer tank on his property where she was found 3 years later. Our first witness this morning was Zach Bach. He is Dee's son. I thought he was a very credible witness. He seemed believable and empathetic, and he told a story that he was extremely close, and we've heard this before, to his mother, Dee Warner, and it's very clear that he's also close to the rest of his siblings. So he also worked for all three businesses, DDW Investments, Warag Farms, and Warag Farms Services. There were several other employees that they had. And the home was on the same piece of property as several barns and an office. So Zach testified that Dee always had a phone in her hand. The only time she didn't respond was when she was killed. He said usually her Cadillac was locked. Her phone case was her day-to-day wallet, and she kept her purse in the Cadillac, a clutch. Dee and Dale fought just about every day related to money or businesses. He talked to Dee on the 24th that morning at Amber's for a cup of coffee, and I thought that was very nice too. He clearly goes to his sister's just to visit and have a cup of coffee. They began texting back and forth later, Zach and Dee, about issues involving two of the trucking employees. Dee said she was done with everything and she wanted out of the marriage and the trucking company, but she had said these things before. They continued texting most of the evening about the fight with the employee. The last time he heard from Dee was 7 or 8 p.m., then went to the farm on Sunday when his sister said that mom was missing and both cars were at home. Tried calling and texting. Sometimes Dee would leave for a day or two to go to Greg's or her kids' houses. The mom's Hummer was at the office, again on the same property, which was weird because she was mostly driving the Cadillac. The trucking employee, was supposed to clean his truck out. His name is Terry. Zach looked into the truck and all his belongings were still there. Dale approaches him in the driveway and asks Zach if he knew where Dee was. They both walked back down to the office, and he heard Dale say, "Aw, fuck." And Dale was holding Dee's wedding ring. Zach goes to the camera system to see if Dee was on the camera leaving and what time that was. And Dale was right next to him. He said, right here. He thought maybe she would have walked to another property, so he went to see if she was staying there, checked his own house because she always went over to his house. Called a police officer friend who said, you need to call the state police. He called his siblings. They all wanted to call police, but Dale said wait a day or two because she's left before. They called the state police who put them back to the Lenawee County Sheriff's Department, which sent a deputy that day, Sunday. So Zach goes back to Dee's on Monday morning and checked the company and Dee's credit cards to see if there were any usage. He didn't find any. This is the first time we hear of Detective Kevin Greca. He's the one that allegedly avoided testifying in this case, ignored his subpoena. So Detective Greca reaches out to Zach, and that is because he is now on the job Monday. And he said he was going to go to the bank to see if there was any activity on the cards. So they both went off to the bank. Dale was tiling the fields. Zach left, and Zach had lived there several times. Dee had bought Zach a safe with the intention of her using it. He kept it in his bedroom, and he put in personal documents. Dee put in cash and other things. Only Dee and Zach had access to this safe. On cross-examination, he said that he had lived at the Munger property in high school and again in 2013-14 and maybe around 2017-2019. There were fights, raised voices, but more recently, it increased. He said he actually can't remember a time they didn't fight, but fights were more frequent. They would lock the house. This was talked about. They would take Lena to Florida in March for extended periods of time. Sometimes they would lock the house or all doors instead of one. The door was always open when he would visit. So remember, this is cross-examination. The the defense is pointing out that the doors were not always locked. Sometimes doors were left open. Zach paid most of the bills, but sometimes Stephanie, who is the secretary, would. Mom and Dale had personal banking accounts and checks, and they paid those themselves. A lot of their personal expenses were paid for with business credit cards. Mom would handle office stuff and Dale would handle farm stuff, but they both did stuff with customers. Would your mom stuff cash in the car and everywhere? Again, asked by the defense. And Zach answered yes. So they're trying to now weave in another theory that they want you to pay attention to. He did say the arguing got significantly worse from 2015 to 2021. He said the plan was always there, but something in there trying to make it work. So basically, why did Dee never leave? Because it sounds like they had both been through pretty bad divorces in the past and they both wanted to make it work, even though it wasn't working. He said she would leave about 10 times a year, commonly would get into it with employees, but this one was different. This was something I've never seen, but other reporters have seen in court. The juror, number one, asked 2 questions. I only thought they can ask during deliberation, but they asked 2 questions. Again, I'm told that this is normal. Well, right before that, there was a redirect and the prosecution said, did you ever call 911 or call police about your mom being missing prior to April 24th, 2021? Zach said no. Zach also said he was upset because Dale told him there was a bunch of money taken from a safe inside the house, and he was upset because a big amount of money it was, $50,000 to $100,000. Dale said Zach was upset because he was struggling to pay bills for the company. Okay, so the 2 questions from the jury. Any animosity between Dale and Zach before Dee went missing? The answer was yes. And how was the relationship between Dale and Zach prior to Dee going missing? He said, we spoke about work-related things, and that was it. So this is part 2. Now, after lunch, the prosecutor asked the judge to release Zach Bach from sequestration. So prior to testimony, witnesses are not allowed to watch anyone else's testimony or read anything about the case. Basically, the prosecutor is asking for Zach Bach to be released from that now that he has testified. And they went back and forth on this, but apparently there's a Michigan law where you are considered a victim. Obviously he is, having lost his mother. And then after your first testimony, you're released. So he can now be watching the case with his family members and talking to whoever he needs to about it to deal with the situation. After that, Austin Hall, Lenawee County Sheriff's Office deputy, we meet him. He is the first officer to start investigating Dee Warner's disappearance. So he meets with Dee's children on Sunday, April 25th. He did a phone ping for Dee's cell phone and went to Dee's home around 6 p.m. This is Sunday. He talked to Dale. He was wearing a body cam. And you may have seen this in some of the documentaries where they walk up to Dale and he's on like this gravel area in front of like a big barn looking thing. That's this body cam. This is where jurors are hearing from Dale for the first time. This is where they're hearing words out of his mouth. Dale tells the deputy he's not sure if she left or not, says she got into an argument with employees and she was going to kill herself. Then he said she had COVID, migraines, calmed down and passed out on the couch. Got up around 6 and she was snoring away. One thing that I did notice about this was he was kind of like a ping pong ball, going from, you know, she was going to kill herself. She had COVID. She had migraines. She calmed down. Then she passed out on the couch. It was just kind of, it felt all over the place. And he was talking a lot and rapidly. I mean, this is just an observation from someone in the gallery. He got up around 6. She was snoring. Her makeup, hairdryer, and go bag were all gone. Wasn't very concerned. So apparently she kept a bag where she would just, when she wanted to get out of there for a day or two, it was ready to go. He says she's with somebody somewhere. She put her wedding ring on my desk. He told the other kids she has a phone and she doesn't know that I know about this phone. I'm looking at the children now, and I can tell they're getting frustrated listening to this. He says she locks her car and she's very secretive. She doesn't want anyone to know where she's at. So during this time, you know, exasperation is showing. And I look over and a couple of the jurors are looking at Dee's kids. So they're noting, here's the kid's reaction to what he is saying. And then he did with 2 deputies that we saw today on body cam. He made small talk with them, a lot about, oh, you know so-and-so, I know so-and-so. To me, I clocked that. The deputy files a report to the sergeant when leaving. He next worked on Wednesday, so this is where we see Detective Kevin Greca for the first time, who was the deputy who, the former detective who was arrested by the U.S. Marshals for allegedly fleeing testimony here. So this is the first time we see him. And we're not seeing him on the stand though. We're seeing him in these body cam videos. So now we're looking at body cam of Detective Greca. On April 26th, he's in the kitchen with Dale. Dale says that Dee got into it with a couple of drivers. Terry with a Y has a brother named Todd. Terry with a Y is the driver, and he's with Terry with an I, okay? Dee called Terry with a Y out for not paying her. Terry, I, had his phone, and it all went south. So it seems like here Dale is pointing the investigator toward Terry and Terry, talking a lot about how they had bad conflicts. And she was also mad at Dale for not backing her up because she told Terry with a Y to get rid of Terry with an I. So then Terry, I, and Dee get into a text fight regarding Xanax because of that Xanax text I told you about. He says, Dale, I could tell by the tone in her voice I was going to get an ass chewing. Why are you telling employees I was on Xanax? Dee was mad. She says, we're done. This was off the wall. He talks about an argument that they had, and she was coming down with the migraine so bad she couldn't talk or see, let her sleep on the couch. This was the night before then. And she was snoring at 6 a.m., texted her, she didn't answer. Again, he's talking nonstop. He says her curling iron's gone, makeup bag, hair dryer gone, and the getaway bag. And then he slips in, when she drinks way too much. He said, I wouldn't be surprised if she bought something else and put it in a bottle. At this time, I looked at the children again. They were shaking their heads, and the jury was looking at the children reacting to this. So he's saying that he thinks that Dee's on drugs. Again, this is where with Detective Greca, he's bringing up, oh, you know so-and-so, I know so-and-so, trying to relate to him. Then he said, and we, I think all in the media are looking for more clarification. He said at one point, you know, I we built an empire together, but then they had bought a $1,500 acre vegetable farm and it nearly bankrupted us, lost 20 to 25 million. He also says, you know, my wife is bipolar. I think she has mental problems. Again, the jurors are looking at the children. Then he says she's in denial. I don't know if she wants attention. I know she wouldn't have an affair. I told her we're going to be together for better or for worse. I've been through one divorce and I sure as hell don't want to go through another one. So I felt like a lot of that was, again, throwing out theories. Then we see another body cam back to Officer Hall. Dale says he last saw her. He was the last one to see her at 6 a.m., talks about the millions of dollars lost again, talks about calling hospitals to check on her. Another video with Greca talks about the various properties and the acreage. He's getting a list of all those probably so he can go check them. Another instance, a semi was running and Dale was inside. I'm going to show you a picture. Okay, so this is the picture that was shown. Greca and Hall were here. Dale was spraying the ground in the barn and asked detectives to leave the barn because he was spraying with chemicals. And this was on the 429 body cam. And look what's back there. They didn't say it's the tank, but you can see it is a tank. And in another body cam interview, Dale says he was spraying, putting in tile with Jaron and Brian. Talked to Dee around the time of the soccer game, Lena's soccer game, Saturday morning. She was giving him a guilt trip because he wasn't going to the soccer game. Dee is confronting him about telling the help about her taking Xanax. Said, we're fucking selling everything. We're done. Wouldn't answer the phone anymore. Thought that, well, Dee did go to Amber's. When he saw her, she had been trying. Angelina and Dale went out and did chores. So they were going to go to the other farm and check on some steers. He said, I was going to make burgers. Dee asked Dale if he knew that Terry quit today. Remember the Terry, the truck driver. Dale had gone down to Findlay on Saturday. Dee had a migraine and took 3 pills. He was rubbing her back and calming her down, picked her up, tucked her in on the couch, and then talks about Dee having a secret phone. Don't forget, court is not in session on Monday because it's a national holiday, and on Tuesday we start at 9 a.m.